welcome, a very warm welcome, it is surely warm, to a Podful of Saints for the 2023-24 season, episode number 8, with myself, David Tavener. Over there, looks like he's wearing a blooming sweatshirt. It can't be. Lee Wood.
Not a sweatshirt, mate. It's aircon in here. Is it aircon or is it Mrs. Wood having a go at me again? Who knows? Let's discuss.
That'd be hot air, not on the cold shoulder. And somewhere in another part of the county is Jake Ellacott.
Hello, everyone. It's just as warm as here, and I don't like it. But 4 points, what more do you need?
Don't like it. We get 1 week of good weather and you're moaning about it. For goodness sake, get yourself together, Jake. Right, 2 games to look back on, 4 points, 2 clean sheets. The title is ours. We start down in Kent. Kent last Saturday.
You've changed your tune, Tavener. I know that, mate. Bloody hell. A week is a long time in football, is it not, David?
I don't know what you mean, Lee. Welling United, I tell you what, for an hour, we weren't poor, we were shocking. Absolutely dreadful, maybe a bit longer than an hour. And it changed in the last 20 minutes. We had chances to win that, and we went away thinking, oh, this is a lot better. Is this how we're going to play in future games? More attack-minded, because players seem to enjoy it more. But funny old game. We went into it with one change, with Sam Brown returned for the injury, Dan Bowry. But it all went wrong early on. We just couldn't get it together. But I give credit to Welling United. Football-wise, particularly in the midfield, I thought they were as good a footballing side as any we've played this season. I know it's only 8 games gone, but we've had some big names in that. And they played really good football. What they had was nothing up front. Their final ball into the box wasn't great. And no, they just had nothing. They seldom looked like scoring for really good possession. They were good to watch. Whereas we, funny enough, in that closing stages, we looked like we might get a goal. Yeah. But it wasn't to be. I don't know what you two have picked up from talking to other people who were there at Parkview Road.
I was there. Thank you very much, David.
I didn't see you.
There's a reason I avoid you.
How could you miss a Swede of that size, glaring in the Kent sunshine, Dave? Goodness me. Take it away, fella.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think, especially first half, say 60 minutes, probably was in the end. We did struggle with Welling. I think the midfield was an issue for us. We had a mad 10 minutes during the first half where we seemed incapable to pass to each other and were determined to pass the ball to Welling on the edge of our own box. Luckily, we managed to survive that spell. And yeah, Welling, decent side. Their centre halves, I thought, were very good footballers as well, actually. And they sort of didn't have any problems with us trying to press them at all. And again, in first half, that left Mitchell up front so isolated. I mean, he was just there was nothing getting near him at all. Him and Rasulo just couldn't connect. And yeah, but I say second half though, there were improvements. And then a certain Sean Jeffers came on, and then that final sort of 12.
I've heard of him.
That sort of final 12 minutes. I don't know if it was because Welling had tired themselves out a little bit, or what it was. But that final 12 minutes, it was pretty much all us. We weren't necessarily knocking at the door, but we did very much have Welling penned back in their own sort of almost area at times. And it was almost like, as if we've spoken on recent podcasts, when we play positively and we look to cause teams problems, we actually can do that. And it really restricts them from causing us problems, surprisingly.
You're right about 2 central defenders were good for them. So were, I'm not going to pronounce this right, Jepti Tanga and Lewis White, who was with Worthing last year. Kindly, they took Lewis White off 73 minutes, which is roughly the time when we got on top. So thanks very much, Danny Bloor, for that. Very kind of you. I'm sure that's not what changed. It's a change of mindset in us, wasn't it, Jake? But we did start getting the ball forward. We stopped that nonsense of the sideways and backward stuff, and we put them under pressure, and they did look like they were going to crack.
Yeah, they did. And, if we'd had another 5 minutes, potentially, they would have. But yeah, I think we started to go forward, and we started using the wide areas much better in the second half, particularly down the right, and also on the left. Ben Wyatt, I think, really started to come into his own on Saturday in terms of bombing down there, which was really good to see. So it was much better. And again, I thought when we had 2 strikers up front in Mitch and Jeffers, and Mitch was drifting wide, they managed to link up much better with Rasulo, who then in turn linked up much better with the midfielders behind him in Blackman and Smith. And I thought it all just made a lot more sense, that sort of like 15 minutes of additional time. But yeah, it was just that change in emphasis. And I don't know if it was because like Nobby, maybe he thought that last 10, 15 minutes, Welling were tiring, we could get something, let's push forward a little bit, or what it was. But it was much better to see.
It's interesting in his recent interviews, he said about the players need to take control or authority and make things happen in the game, which is against the way we've been playing, isn't it? With the safety first. And he's talking now a language we've been talking all season. Try and win the game. Don't try and just save it. Try and win it. Interesting substitution round about the hour mark. Dylan Farge taken off and Olu Lawal came on. He was tidy, wasn't he? And of course on Tuesday, Farge was on the bench and looked to be slipping down the pecking order. And Nobby is may yet give Lawal a starting position soon.
Yeah, he seems to like him, but I mean, I didn't
Won't
think
he,
Farge
Jake?
done. I didn't think Farge.
No, it wasn't his worst game, was it?
No. I thought Farge was decent. I mean, I thought he didn't necessarily deserve to be pulled off. I thought there were other players that maybe could have been. But there we are. But yeah, Lawal looks decent. I think he's come through the academy, hasn't he? I think Nobby seems to like him. I know he was on the bench in pre-season as well. So it's good to see. We've talked about the academy, haven't we, in recent weeks, and sort of the attention to it sort of gone away a little bit. So hopefully Olu can do well.
You mentioned the midfield earlier, problems there. I think we've touched on it in previous podcasts as well. Give this one to you as well, Lee. Is there a problem in that midfield, or is it still bedding down?
I don't think it's a problem as much as we're seeing plenty of the ball. I don't think it's a problem with the midfielders. I think the problem we have is the balance of the side. I think you two have alluded to it, and obviously in evidence, in abundance on Tuesday night. I think when there are two up top, I think the balance is a lot better. I think it releases a lot of pressure off of Mitch's shoulders, because at the minute it's a real thankless task for him to run into those channels, hold it up, and then wait for the on-rushing midfielders to get into the box to deliver that telling ball. I think once there are two up there, I think everyone just breathes a huge sigh of relief. They get a bit more time on the ball just because the balance is right. I mean, no, I don't think there's a massive problem. I still believe, and I know I harp on about this, but I still believe we've got some of the best midfielders. I honestly do. I think at times it doesn't gel, but how far do you want to go into the season without sort of really pointing fingers? We're 8 games in, a whole new world of faces. It's not going to gel straight away, is it?
No, it's not. But some of those midfielders are not performing to their best form yet. So I'll come out soon, and we're going to see the benefits of it. We got technical problems, I think, by the sound of it today, but we shall plough on regardless. You got anything more to add, Ben, from Saturday, Jake?
No, I think coming away from the game, I think even though it was a 0-0, actually, what I will say, defensively, it wasn't amazing at times, but to get that clean sheet, that first clean sheet of the season, did feel like an important point to get over that. It has been a struggle recently. And I mentioned about Ben White. I also thought Michael Clark, for most of the game, thought he had a pretty good game at the back, actually, and he gained a bit more confidence going forward on the ball. And I think that led into Tuesday, which we'll talk about. So I think getting that clean sheet was really important, just to give the defence a bit of confidence, a bit of a boost after I think what has been a bit of a tough start for them this season. I mean, I don't think the defence has really been a massive issue for me, but if you don't, if you keep continuing to not have clean sheets, just in the back of the head. So I think that's enough positive from Saturday.
Yeah, first clean sheet, and David Noble.
Oh, Tabs.
50th game as manager. His 50th league game as well. Right, we move on to Tuesday. Home win and another clean sheet. Dover Athletic, Clarence Park, 2-0. Last week I alluded it. I thought Dover's a side you should beat. no matter what. And I thought it showed last night. Their problems again were up front. They had nothing. They had a couple of spells where they could have done something, but very weak up front. We defended rather well, which helped as well, I suppose. A comfortable night all round.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I think there was a few moments, to be fair to Dover, after we scored our first goal. I mean, we didn't. We struggled to create anything after our first goal. Actually, we barely got into their half, and that was a reasonable spell for them. And they did have a couple of openings that maybe they could have done better with. But as I said, they're a team going into the game. You thought we have to beat them, and we did the job. It wasn't perfect. Second half was a lot better. Again, when we had two men up front, which we'll talk about. But yeah, it was comfortable in the end, and that's what you want at this point, isn't it? Again, another clean sheet. It's just starting to build that confidence now, starting to build something that can maybe shape and prove to be a basis for moving forward.
Was it comfortable? I mean, look, I arrived to the game late, and I think that second half, in particular, the more that went on, it was quite evident that we weren't going to be holding out for that win. I mean, I think Dover were imposing themselves on the game. We were getting bullied off the ball with great ease, really, in the middle of the park. And that's where I see our strength is in the middle of the park. That's where our key men and our influencers come from. And the fact that, yes, okay, we were playing it around in spells, but not in the key areas. And I think it was the change, the substitutions, where it really sort of gave us a bit more balance, pretty much like on Saturday. You know, the continuation of Jeffers' admission still baffles me, because I think, you know, this is about the judge of a player's value and worth in the absence of statistical evidence. You know, everyone knows we've gone on this before about the fact that White's fallen out of favour with Nobby, but you know, there has to be some logic in the fact that Mitch plays better when he's up there with Jeffers, and we saw that. I mean, okay, Mitch got a goal on Tuesday night. I mean, the keeper, he's had an absolute shocker there. But I think what happens is when Mitch plays up front on his own, not only do you lose the goals that Jeffers provides, you also lose the assists that Mitch provides for others, especially Sean. The change needed to be made, you know, because there was no way we were going to be holding out to the end of that game with 1-0. And I think Jeffers commands respect, right? And he might not be getting any from our coaching staff at the minute, but he commands respect from other defenders around him. And I think what we saw in the second half is that he takes defenders away, and that creates a lot more space for the players around him. And it's just that balance. His body of work at this club is stellar. It's stellar. And I think hopefully now the fact that he works so well with Jeffers or whoever it may be up top will give Nobby an indication now of maybe how we progress as a team and how we incorporate sort of Sean into the side with a positive effect. You know, we were sort of chatting about this yesterday, Jake, that is it a case of a lot of this use of Sean is just David Noble being a bit stone-headed, being a bit sort of stubborn, and yeah, I mean, you don't bring Sean Jeffers on with 2 or 3 minutes to go, but if you give him a fair crack at the whip, especially at home as well, he's going to start to do things. Whether that take defenders away and create space for others, that's it. But that's how we win games, and you know, it's got to be the catalyst now for us going forward.
Well, when we saw it on Saturday, when he came on, it was so different, those final stages, and you really thought then that Nobby would start with Weiss and Jeffers together on Tuesday, and it really did baffle me that he didn't last night, because you're against a side who we're going to have problems this season. There's no two ways about it. It was the ideal one to get them together, get confidence, and build that relationship properly. I think Jeffers was actually looking for chances in the time he was on, and the thing is, he didn't score from them, but he gets them on target. Take that free kick on Saturday. Good free kick on target. You look at our other free kicks; they're woeful, absolutely woeful. He knows how to strike a ball and get it on target. And it was baffling that Jeffers didn't start last night. I don't know. Is he going to keep just sticking him on the bench? it is a bizarre one, Jake.
Yeah, to be honest, I think he can't for me. But I mean, we've talked about this previously. Mitch is better out wide, isn't he? For me at the minute, we saw that with his assist for Giorgio's first last night, cutting in from out wide, absolutely tormenting their fullback, leaving him for dust. And then we saw it in the second half. Once Sean had come on, Mitch drifted about a bit further wide on the left and also on the right. He gives you that flexibility to swap across both. And that last 20 minutes, defensively anyway, Dover were really struggling to handle our sort of forward front three, I guess, if you're including Rasulo, maybe even a 4 if you're including Lawal. And on the other side, they were really struggling at the back. Midfield-wise, I think they were still getting some luck. But yeah, at the back, we were creating problems. We saw Sean had a good chance, well saved by their keeper, when he decided not to let one go through him. That was a really good stop. And it just created openings. And it also relieved pressure. That last 10 minutes after we'd gone 2-0 up, once you have Sean Jefferson up there, he can win you free kicks. He can challenge for the ball. He can lay it off to players that are making runs out wide. It was much more comfortable with Sean on the pitch. And I think, Sean obviously hasn't had much time on the pitch this season. And in those performances, he's not been great, I think, because he's not had that time. But I thought his display last night for his time on the pitch was the sort of Sean Jeffers performance, apart from maybe scoring a goal, that we're used to seeing. And it was much improved. And I think the more time he gets on the pitch, the more he'll get up to speed and fit into the style of play that can accommodate him.
There are a couple of bits last night that suggest players that are going to be more attack-minded. One was that goal you just talked about, a quick long throw by Sam Brown. We suddenly discovered in the last couple of games he's got a long throw. With a good weapon down the ears, whether it's Tom Bender, Sam Merson, go back to Paul White in the 70s if you want to. And he took it long, he took it quickly. A mixture away, as you say. He tormented that defender. Lovely ball across, and Andronicus stuck it away. That was good. And also in the second half, the ball come down towards Brown again. It was just inside our half, and he could have perhaps tried to get it down and play it back, but he didn't. He did it first time forward. It might be agricultural, but what did it do? Put them under pressure, right on the edge of their box, and Sean was round there sniffing around it. If you're a defender, you don't want Sean round you on those bouncing balls like that. And that's how we get goals. And that brings Mitch into play. One change I would like to see, because I think the midfield is really struggling at the moment. I think Ben Smith could possibly do a break. Did he get an injury last night? Possibly. Bobby Dunn came on last 6 minutes plus the 8 minutes of added time. Now he's got, I know you sing his praises, Lee. He's certainly got a bit about him. He does go forward and he hits a very nice forward ball, but he's got to watch his tackling. He takes off and flies in. He's not going to be seeing many minutes at all if he keeps doing that. But I just think get him in there, and that's going to make us more attacking as well.
Yes, but what I would say is that he's got a different temperament, but he brings something different as well in the middle of the park. Ben Smith, I agree with you completely. I thought he lost the ball too many times unnecessarily last night and put us in immediate danger right in the middle of the park, in key positions. But he's done well this season. So, that I think a rest could do him good. But I think with Bobby Dunn, jokingly, I've made like a beeline for his ability, because the fact that, I've sort of honed in on sort of him as a player. But I tell you what, mate, I don't mind a little bit of needle in the middle of the park, because at that time, they were chasing the game. I mean, I don't know, it just brings something different, and it's probably not what you want to see. It's not easy on the eye to watch, but bear in mind his physicality. He's a fantastic footballer to boot as well, And all right, if he puts in a tackle or two, I mean, there was one tackle, he took out one of their players, one of our players, and if the referee was any closer, he'd have wiped him out as well. I don't mind that, Dave, because at the end of the day, mate, it shows intent, if nothing else, and it's something different. And if Dover, who were overtaking our midfield, think, hang on, we've got the absolute free ride of these City boys now in the middle of the park, if Dunn comes on and leaves a few boots in and around their ankles and stuff, maybe they're going to think sort of twice about sort of that as well. So I don't mind that at all, mate. He's a different player, different mindset. And the worst thing you want to sort of do is be uniform across the board in a midfield where everyone's trying to be the same entity. He's got something different, and I like him.
So you'd be happy to start with him Saturday?
Well, it's not going to be detrimental to the team.
No.
This is what we're saying. We're talking about a squad game now. This isn't about 1 to 11. That doesn't exist anymore. It's absolutely fabrication. If Bob Dunn comes into the side, no one's going to really say, "Oh, that's detrimental to the team." It's not weakening the side in any way. It's a different type of player, and you know what? Leaving him out for a few games and bringing him on might give him a little bit more drive to make and a better impression as well. Because don't forget, this is a long season, and Smith has looked after Payson in the last few games. Blackman's finally coming into the equation now, having not looked on it for the first games of the season. So I think with that in mind, it doesn't hurt to have some fresh faces in there just to help sort of, spice it up a little bit.
My only complaint about Ben Smith actually is he goes backwards and sideways too often. His first thought is keep the ball. I know it's been drummed into the players this season, and with a possible little mindset change we've seen over in bits the last couple of games, he would need to do it as well. All right, in theory, you can't concede a goal if you've got the ball, but if we're going to win games, he's maybe going to have to look for a forward pass more often. If everybody from last night is fit for Saturday, Jake, would you make any changes?
It's a tricky one. I know he scored a goal, Giorgio, but he still didn't particularly impress me. I think on the ball a lot of the game, unfortunately. And I think him going off, I don't think we particularly lost anything when he went off. I wouldn't mind someone like Dylan Farge come back. I don't really know what Dylan did wrong at Welling, because I'd like to see him back in the team, again, especially against an outfit, which I'm sure we'll talk about, that can be quite difficult to break down at times. So I think it's going to be a difficult one on Saturday. But yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Bobby Dunn come in. I like Bobby. He almost hit a viewer of the pod, Reece Wynn, square in the face with a shot in the warm-ups before the game. So that's not a great comment.
Why he was up then, mate, in the first place.
Yeah. But I think Bobby, has impressed me when he's come on. I think he's got that little bit of fight that we might need in a game like Saturday. And I agree that Ben Smith could do with a little rest. He's played a lot of minutes already this season. And there's no harm in rotating the squad a little bit, because it's only the first week of September. We've already played a lot of football already this season. And if we want to avoid injuries, we've already got injuries in the squad. We don't really want to pick it up anymore because it's not the biggest squad. So let's use the players, rotate it a bit, give some of them a chance to show what they can do.
I tell you what, talking of the pre-match warm-up, obviously Lewis Wynn's not paying attention. If you get there early enough, watch out. It seems like about a 2-hour warm-up. Watch Michael Johnson. He gets a ball. He has what's his name? Sam Bentley over one side. He has Peter Russell on the other side. He kicks the ball to them, and it's straight to them every time. The accuracy is fantastic. But of course, come a game, he catches a cross and he looks to put somebody away. We've got nobody up there. We have everybody back for corners and free kicks. So we're wasting what could be a potential outlet to really get at the opposition. But if you do get there early, watch it. It's great to watch.
Tabs, I'm picking you up,
just
mate,
for
on
entertainment.
No, well, yeah. I mean, you've mentioned this sort of having everyone back at corners and free kicks and stuff now religiously. But the thing is, you got to think about it. If they've committed everyone forward and we haven't, then it means there's going to be more of them to attack the ball once it breaks to them. That is a possible. We can't just keep accepting the fact that we've got to leave someone up, because it doesn't automatically going to lead to a goal. All right, the fact there's everyone's back.
Of course,
to
it
mark.
doesn't.
Everyone's there to mark a man, and if they've got 2 or 3 people spare because we've left 2 people up on the halfway line, if we concede from that, you'll be the first one to say, "Oh, well, who was picking up him? Well, it was the 2 fellas on their side on the halfway line." Everyone's got to pick up a man. They are attacking. We're not attacking. If we get the ball, fine, then we can release players back. But look, it's every single week you say this, and every single week it just doesn't seem to compute that. If we leave men up and they commit men forward, then someone's going to be free somewhere along the line.
Right,
Here we go. Here we go.
Lee.
Go on. Yes, mate.
I'm totally disagree with you there. You put two
There's a
players up
surprise.
there. Any side which sees two opposition go up there will put
Yeah.
three back and your
Yeah.
goalkeeper. So that's four out of the way already. So you've got 9 of your own men marking their 7.
Yeah.
If they have got space in there, it's sheer incompetence on our part from those who are defending. And we've seen it so many times already this season. Attack breaks down, their attack breaks down, ball gets cleared straight to one of theirs. We haven't really cleared our lines. Back it comes again. It's schoolboys coaching. It really is. If you do that, you should be a bit more savvy than that.
But we aren't the only team that does it though. So we can't.
No, of course we're not.
Schoolboys.
They are. They're clones. They just clone each other. All coaching. We all play the same style of football everywhere now. Very few different teams play it differently. They're all clones of each other. I tell you what, show a bit of individuality.
Well, there we go. That is the David Tavener 101 of football.
Yeah, right.
Fair play. No, but fair play. I mean, listen, football is about opinions, right? There's going to be people who are listening to this thinking, more often than not, I'm talking a load of old chop about this, but there are people who are going to be, thinking that you are wrong. But that's fine. But the fact we do it, it's not necessarily costing us goals. What is costing us goals is when MJ drops the ball at the feet of an attacker and then he scores. And that's probably more often than not. But the fact is, no one's scoring goals because
having everybody back, Lee, costs us a chance of scoring goals.
Yeah, but that's not the primary function of that, is it, though? It's to defend the corner, which they've got, isn't it? I know what you're saying, counter-attack and all that, but the primary function of their having a corner is for us to defend it. Anyway, write in. Everyone, write in. Chip in. Have your say. It's not all about us. Come on, Dave.
What I would say is, I think at Welling, there was at least one corner where we actually kept someone forward. So they've been listening.
Did we score
today,
from that, Jake?
No, we didn't. But quite a few supporters commented. They said they would be happy.
No, did they?
Well, then we're both right, Tabs, aren't we? We're both right. What a world we live in.
Sorry, I'll go there looking to see my team trying to win, which may be the wrong way about it.
I thought it was all about the performance
and entertaining. Right,
of course. There we go.
I think we've done Dover to death, haven't we? Unless you've got anything to add on that.
No, mate, we're done.
Right.
We're done.
Well, what about this coming Saturday? Third successive game against a side from Kent. Dartford, not made the start people would have expected. A couple of defeats in the past. It's funny, they won away to Aveley, top of the table. Tuesday, they lose at home to Slough Town, bottom of the table. So I don't think we know what we're going to get Saturday.
No, I think they lost to Taunton as well, didn't they? As well, between the win at Aveley. They've not had a good start. I mean, if you think, I'm sure some Saints supporters think we might have been a little bit too negative recently, maybe on the run results, and that's fair enough. Like Lee just said, game of opinions. If you want to see negativity, just log on to the Dartford fans forum. It is like nothing I've ever seen in there. It is the collective meltdown of minds over the start of their new campaign is really quite unbelievable. They are not a happy group over there at all. The fans are not happy with Dowson, not happy with players, not happy with the style of play, interestingly, which we know can be quite agricultural, it is fair to say. But it seems that last night's defeat against a team that hadn't won at all up until now has really quite sort of lit the blue touch paper over there. And I think Dowson's under a little bit of pressure suddenly going into this game on Saturday. And I think we're going to see a Dartford team that either roll over or I think they're going to be fighting, really properly scrapping. It's going to be a tough one.
Apart from the fact it was Slough Town's second win of the season after an excellent 3-0 win at Western-super-Mare. Very, very good joke. A couple of ex-Saints, or a few ex-Saints down there. Luke Allen, Harvey Bradbury and Musa Diarra. Some familiar faces.
Well, I think going back to what Jake was saying, there's an expectancy from from Dartford. You know, they spend liberally every single off season, and you know, with a man in charge like Dowson, you expect success. The fans there, they're quite unforgiving, aren't they? And especially with the run of results they have had, you half expect, you know, the village elders with their pitchforks to sort of come out all guns blazing on Saturday. So it's the case of the matter is we've got to be. It won't be an easy game by any stretch, and we've got to be on it. I noticed there's a few comments I've seen on the socials about, oh, you know, easy win, 3 points. They're out of form. We may be sort of coming into some form now. Blah blah blah. No, that is exactly not how it works. Especially with City, especially with Dartford. They've got some good players, and I think you take them lightly. We're gonna get stuck.
Good crowd last night, over 1,100. Should be even a few more, you would have thought, with Dartford, because they generally bring a few.
Hopefully, it should be a really good crowd. Weather looks like it's going to be another, I say pleasant, probably too hot for me, but another very sunny one. And yeah, good crowd last night. Hopefully we can build on it. And I think especially given the run we've had recently, to have the crowd that we did last night was really good. But yeah, I think hopefully going on Saturday, I know this won't be an issue for the players or Nobby, but I think for the fans, I think there just needs to be a sense of expectation, because I would expect we're going to come up against Dartford side. I think that we'll be flying into tackles that will be very sort of route one maybe at times, but they've got the likes of Harvey Bradbury that will cause us trouble. We've not really come up against a team like that this season, generally, I'd say. So it's going to be a real struggle at times. And again, that's wonder if someone like Bobby Dunn in the middle could maybe work in there, have a bit of grit and steel in there potentially, instead of Ben Smith. We don't know. But yeah, it's going to be a real tough one. And we know what Dowson can be like in these games. And, you know, he's fighting, maybe not fighting for his job yet, but he's certainly under quite a bit of pressure already. He's going to be feeling it. He's talked about it in his post-match, which I watched earlier, sort of admitting it's down to him and it's his responsibility to fix this now. And that the players maybe aren't responding to what he wants at the minute, and he's determined to change that. So it's going to be a really interesting clash on Saturday. And it's going to be a good test for this Saints side. You know, last two games against teams that haven't had great starts either. I think Dartford, I think you can almost throw out their start, can't you? I think it's going to be what it's like on the day. We saw they beat Aveley a few weeks ago. It's going to be a real challenge, but I think it's one that the Saints go into. We saw the celebrations at the end last night. Well, I say celebrations. I mean, James was very happy. But yeah, I think we'll be going into it with a bit of confidence and a bit of positivity, which we haven't really had so far this season.
Of course, Bobby Dunn, you mentioned again there, he had a short while with Dartford at the end of last season, played a handful of games. So you'd imagine he'd be chomping at the bit if he's in the starting 11.
Very true.
Right, we'll do a prediction in a minute, because we've got another game to just very, very quickly touch on. The FA Cup draws we made for the second round qualifying. It's played following Saturday, the 16th of September. Oh, it's 46 years since the anniversary of the death of Mark Bolan. Away to Leiston, Southern League Premier Central. They are in mid-table. Yes, exactly. Just one division below us. It's one of those ones. If you're looking for an upset, I think some people will be looking at that one.
I mean, I remember us going away to sort of, you know, East Anglia on various trophy and FA Cup trips, and it's not been particularly favourable for us. But I think you'd like to think that there's no banana skin there for us if we apply ourselves correctly. You know, it's a good draw for us. It's going to be a good day out for those that are going to travel in numbers. You know, to support the boys. You know, it's going to be a good game. But I think the one thing that Nobby has brought to this club more than anything else at the minute is just professionalism, you know, and the way he wants us to play football. Doesn't always come off. We know that. Look at the results. That will tell you everything you need to know. But mindset and application, I think, is where, and he's going to get them drilled. But the good thing about it is that I think going by his post matches, which are an improvement, they are. Nobby, doesn't matter whether it's FA Trophy, Hearts Charity Cup, FA Cup, first round, whatever it may be. Every game, everyone has got to apply themselves to the letter of the law in the way that he wants them, wants us to play football. So, yes, others outside of the club may want to see a banana skin, but I don't think that's going to happen here.
Jake, what are your feelings on it? We'll look at it more next week, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I had to Google where we're actually going next Saturday. I'd never heard of it before. So that was a nice little search. Apparently it's near Sizewell nuclear plant, which is a nice little thing to find out. I also believe that, Dave, you've got your internet from that part of the world this evening, given the amount of issues you're having. But otherwise, it's going to be tough. It's going to be interesting. It's Nobby's first taste of the FA Cup as a manager, and it'd be interesting to see how he approaches. I suspect no different from usual. I'm sure he'll get his scouting team out there to try and watch them before next Saturday and see what they make of it. It's going to be difficult. We know it always is. Last season it proved to be a banana skin, didn't it, with Sudbury? So we've got that as a warning sign. But yeah, I expect the lads to go into it full of confidence again. And we'll talk about it more next week. But maybe, will we see a couple of players potentially thrown in that haven't featured much this season? But if you're Nobby, you're going to be looking at it and just wanting to get the job done on the Saturday, aren't you? In 90 minutes, go out there and pick up that win and get through to the next round. We know how much Nobby loves cup competitions as a player, and I think he's going to love it, hopefully as much as a manager. But we'll talk about it more next week. I think Lee's still got the giggles, so he's loving it.
Jacob, I'll tell you what, mate, for the rest of the season, we could go and have another 30 or 40 episodes. I bow to your comedic genius today. It was absolutely fantastic. Well done. Bravo, mate, my friend. Bravo.
It's funny, I'm sitting here, the internet problem from where I am looks to be Lee. Be interesting to see when we get recording, Jake. Who it is. Anyway, let's do some predictions. Dartford, Saturday. Go on, Jake. Get us going.
Oh, I'm going to go 2-0 City.
Yeah, I'm going to go 1-1.
Yeah, I'm going to go for a draw as well at 2-2. Talking of cups, back in late March or early April, draw was made for the Heart Charity Cup. First time it's been played since before COVID. And I don't know why, but we've taken ages over sorting out a date for the game with Hemel Hempstead. The other three ties, the dates were sorted out. They played them. They're still waiting for us to sort out a date for it. Hemel have given us some dates, and here we are. We're still dragging our feet. To play it while we've got some free Tuesdays and get going in that cup competition. And one other thing I want to say about last night, Hippo, Graham Coleman, took me to Herbie Smith, a great City player, 1959, 1967, 282 games, a hero for so many people who knew him from that time. Before I was watching, by the way. But so many players who saw him then, he's their favourite player. And we're having a nice little conversation there. The music was going. It was a bit loud, but it's right. And suddenly, we just turned it up. It's not music anyway, it's just a rail. I just turned it up, and it became very difficult just to try and have a normal conversation. And so many people say this all round the ground. So come on, let's show a bit of respect for people. Let them have their conversation, a bit of decency, and just keep it bubbling in the background. And also when the music is going, Johnny then tried talking over it, so he got even louder. Yeah, it's nice to hear what you got, but keep it to a decent level so people can talk to each other.
Speaking of decent level and talking to one another, Jacob's going to give you the email address if you want to get in touch with us and let us waffle for another 16 weeks of the season. Carry on, Jacob.
Yeah, if you have any opinions on the volume of the music, let Dave know via the email address in the description.
Tannoy Gate.
Yeah, Tannoy Gate, or you can send us a tweet /X, whatever it's called this week, at a Podful of Saints. And I think on that note, we'll let Dave go reset his internet. We'll let Lee go to the pub.
It's not mine. I tell you, it's not mine.
No, it's not, mate. No, because we live in the arse end of nowhere. No, mate, I'm not going to the pub. I'm going up for the corner. You're staying back to defend. Remember? Let's go.
on that note, we will see you again next week. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye bye.